Kolēģi, dizaina draugi, izglītības fani, studenti, izglītotāji, dizaineri. Man ir patiesi liels prieks šodien jūs visus uzlūkot un sveikt Latvijas Mākslas akadēmijā. Iepriekšējos gados ir izvērtusies ārkārtīgi auglīga sadarbības starp Latvijas Mākslas akadēmiju un kultūras ministriju un kultūras ministrijas pāraudzībā izveidoto konsultatīvo dizainu padomi. Un kā viens no šīs auglīgās sadarbības rezultātiem bija dizaina stratēģijas, tādas jau diezgan tautā rādāmas versijas izveide un noformēšana, un saistībā ar šīm dizaina stratēģijas tautā nākšanu es esmu ļoti pateicīgs kultūras ministrijai un īpaši radošo industriju nodaļas vadītāja Ligitai Sparānei, kura ir intensīvi organizējusi un visaktīvākās norises. Šodien, tātad Mākslas akadēmijas, arī Zintarai Purviņai, protams, jā. Šodien Mākslas akadēmijas telpās ir trešā saruna un trešā diskusija no šī cikla. Tā slēpj arī kādu pārsteigumu, dāvanu, lektoru no tālas zemes. Un tālāk jau ir vārds Ligitai Sparānei. Man patiesas prieks sākt šo notikumu. Visi apsveikumi.
Paldies, godātais Teikmaņa kungs, labdien visiem! Jā, tas ir komandas darbs, un to mēs visi zinām, ja mēs nestrādāsim komandā, nekas pa vienam nenotiks. Un šodien ir īpašs gadījums. Sorry, Peter, I will start in Latvian, but later on I will introduce you. That's fine, jā. Tā kā jau minēja, mēs šeit nesam vienkārši tāpat, mēs runājam par šo skaisto sarkano rokas grāmatu. Izdrukātā veidā tā izskatās, iespiestā veidā šādā kultūras ministrijas mājaslapā ir iespējams elektroniski to pētīt. Un mēs esam iecerējuši šo visu turpināt, lai šī sniega bumba, kas ir sākusi vēlties no kalna, kas paņem līdz mūs visus domātājus, lai ierautu iekšā tālāk tos, kuri varbūt nedomā, ka pasaule liks mainīties, ja? Lai ierautu ātrāk līdzi iekšā. Un tā kā es biju vakar OECD konferencē Parīzē par publiskās pārvaldes inovācijām, tad ļoti patika Slovēnijas premjera vietnieka sakāmais. Visiem ir jāmainās, un ir daži tie, kuri spējīgi to izdarīt ātrāk. Tie aizrauj nākošos, un tā vajag, un tie, kas pretojās, tos mēs sasiesim un liksim pārlektai strīpai. Līdz ar to viņam bija doma, visi mēs mainamies, visi mēs pielietojam jaunas metodas, lai tiktu uz priekšu. Un šodien mēs esam pateicīgi, ka radošās darbības nedēļas rada ietverā. Mums ir liels un ļoti draudzīgs atbalstītājs, kas ir The Northern Dimension Partnership and Culture, Ziemeļu partnerības kultūras programma, kas mūs atbalsta arī finansiāli, piesaistot ekspertus. So now I will start to talk a little bit about you as the Northern Dimension Partnership really cares about the changes, about everything what we are doing in our countries, and they have supported also this wonderful present for us to have Pītera Kellija here. And Peter will introduce himself probably in detail, but we would like him to give us a food for thought, how things are moving in a worldwide, what is needed, what we have, and what we will need in the future. And so after Peter's lecture, you will have a short break, about 10 minutes, and you will have opportunities to have a warm tea, coffee, and some snacks. We will reorganize a little bit room, and you are very welcome to continue a discussion on the design in education sector, or designing education, or education and design, whatever you wish to think, you are free to choose. Peter, Floor is yours. About 45 minutes, including questions and answers. But Peter is going to stay also for a discussion. If some of you already asked me permission to kidnap Peter after the whole events, but if some of you really would like to catch a moment, then probably try to do it during a break time. Let's give applause, warm applause to Peter. Thanks you for coming.
Thank you so much. Right. Do we have a presentation up? I know I'm in a very entrepreneurial place because I know these guys. This is an Ālto project, which I'm a very big fan of. I've delivered these slides so you can share them electronically with people. I'm really happy to be here, and I wanted to highlight a few words by introduction as we were talking about the topic that we're going to discuss today. I took the word entrepreneurship out and put the word entrepreneurial. Everybody in this room needs to be more entrepreneurial. And one of the messages I want, and I spend a lot of time with people talking about, is a professor of practice in high growth entrepreneurship is not a person who is solely interested in startups. In fact, with most of my students, I say, go out and get a job. I have very creative young students, and if you really want to do something with incredibly high impact, you have to have an awful lot of credibility in the market to do that, and the only way you get credibility is going out doing real things in the real world. So a blend of high education and getting some credibility and experience outside. So most of my successful students have been out of school for about 5 years. In fact, one of my most successful ones in my very first class, because I've been in Finland 20 years, is one of the key people behind Supercell. It's a company you might have heard about, mobile gaming. The company is worth something like 8 or 9 billion. The guy who's one of the major shareholders is 36. He was in my class. I saw his business plan. I thought it was weird. I wish I had a piece of that business. So my day job is in Finland. I've had experience investing in companies. I've read too many business plans. That's why I have glasses. I don't teach business planning anymore. You're going to get a view of the approach that I do take. I also have a couple of visiting gigs. One is at a new business school in Trinity College, Dublin. The building is being built as we speak. They're very late to the game, but they have a very good reputation, and they've been around for 450 years, and that's a very good firm foundation. They've raised a lot more money than they ever expected to actually disrupt business education, and that's where I go for my Guinness. And then the most interesting one is the position I have in design. I have absolutely no formal design training. So the professors of design actually look and say, how could a guy with no design training get a visiting gig in Santiago, Chile? So feel lucky that I'm here today, because normally in November I would like to be in Santiago where it's sunny and warm. And there's something in design schools and places like this that are inherently entrepreneurial and creative. So I'm at home in this place. I love this kind of place. And by the way, it is the single title that I get more questions about, because business schools, entrepreneurship educators want to understand the process of design. So I go to Chile for my wine, Dublin for my Guinness, and darkness in Finland, where I spend most of my time. Now, there's a lot, and this will give you a lot of view about me as a person, the way I teach. I love visuals. A lot of universities, a lot of companies have a lot of people like this Wile E. Coyote figure. They spend a whole lot of time inventing gadgets. And I'm aged myself. I remember this cartoon coming on Saturdays. This is what parents would plop their kids in front of the television to watch this cartoon because the parents wanted to sleep in. And you kind of realize the story that this coyote was trying to catch this roadrunner. And if you've seen this series, he never caught the roadrunner, ever. Not for lack of trying. I see lots of company research labs, labs at the universities, loaded with equipment and these kind of prototypes kicking around. And nobody seems to know often how to use them. Works in the lab, does it sell in the market? We don't know. And he always had a plan. This is a great plan, 1 page. It's a picture, and many people that I do training, and I have absolutely no ability to draw, think that being a designer means an ability to be able to have an artistic flair. Baloney. You get the picture here. The coyote's airborne. There's an explosive device. X marks the spot. The roadrunner's coming by, and if it all hits at the right time, splat, we have roadrunner. But I say to students, actually, you do need to know an awful lot about materials, trajectories. There's theories about this. The only thing flawed about this plan is I do not figure out from the visual how the coyote stays airborne. And most plans have these kind of fatal flaws. He had a budget. He spent a lot of money. This is off the internet, so my students say this is the truth, right? You go Google search the first 10 results, and they're not curious enough to go beyond that oftentimes. All of these types of solutions, he had budget to spend. None of them actually worked. Actually, he's a very good customer. He's a very good customer to test new technology with. He has money. He obviously doesn't seem to be too upset that it doesn't work, and he keeps coming back for more. Right? We use this logic. Light bulb moment, write a detailed plan, raise a lot of money, retire. That kind of linear process governments like, engineers like, business students like, but it doesn't work. I've read tens of thousands of plans. There is one observation I would make that you need to bury into this head. It's a work of fiction. It will not come true. It will likely take a lot more time, and something's going to happen after you've looked at this little thing that you think is going to be a foreshadowing of what's going to happen in the future. It's wrong. And this is a game. And it frustrated me when I first started teaching in this area 25 years ago. It was a business planning class. And then by about week 10, you'd pitch up this business plan in great detail, and suddenly somebody who had never read the plan sits in front, listens for 5 minutes, finds the key question that's wrong, and says, "You're wrong." So what about the plan? What's the worth of the plan? A lot of effort put into it, and my colleagues and I are thinking about, are we missing the boat here? I think we are. Look at this picture. My students in the current Design and Innovation and Context class, and there's a good bit of marketing here. Entrepreneurship educators, put the word design in any course and you're going to get people trouncing in from all over the school. And I put designers on a pedestal because they're highly empathetic at looking at how customers behave. And I use this exercise. If you simply look and say, what's the coyote thinking? He's got a bib, a knife, and a fork, and he's ready to pounce, and you see the roadrunner. Does the roadrunner look at all afraid? No. You could obviously infer that there is something that he wants dinner, right? He wants food. I look at the bird, there's not much meat on that bird, so I don't know why he's trying this at all. And I had a conversation with my mother, which also tells you a lot about me. I said, "Mom, this coyote's really stupid. He's got money. He wants food. He's chasing this bird he never catches. It doesn't look like a meaty dish, so why doesn't he take his budget and go buy food?" Problem solved. This is what I call rapid opportunity prototyping. Problem solution. She said, no. If that was the case, it would be one episode, it would finish, and that's it. The creative endeavor would end. We use a lot of analytical thinking, particularly in engineering and business schools. Governments use an awful lot of analytical thinking. They are looking for reliable solutions. Show me that it has worked before. Sound familiar? That's not a bad thing. Universities are deeply into this. Analytical mode. What happens if you have no proof? I ask. I got something completely new. How do you know it's going to work? I don't know. What's the typical answer of university bureaucrats, governments, big companies? No. We don't know how it fits. Come back to me when you have some proof. I just want to plant that thought in your mind to say, is that the right starting point for doing anything high impact in life? Not to say it's bad, but we often start with analytical thinking. It is a exercise and analysis that gets you to start great things. This is from a guy named Roger Martin. It might be a name that some of you have heard. He was the former dean of the Rotman Management School in Toronto. He went to a design conference, and it's one of the best MBA programs in Canada, and he basically was asked by the design community, what can designers learn from the world of business and vice versa? And he basically found actually the design world was far more interesting than the management world he came from. And he had something what he called the knowledge funnel. And this is going to resonate a lot. The world, big data, is a very mysterious place. I'll bet you there are people in this room who at times stress because there's so much information hitting you. And this problem is getting worse as we're sitting here. And I have students who get flustered dealing with big challenges. Now, by the way, professors are very good at mysteries because if you look at mysteries, there's lots of hypotheses to test, and you could have a very robust career for 40 or 50 years taking on a very complex challenge. They like complexity. They like complexity. Companies, governments like what's called an algorithm, routines. If you're a for-profit company, you want a routine that makes money. If you are in the service industry, which governments are, you want to do programs with impact, measurable impact. And you need a lot of managers to manage the algorithm. Tell me what you want me to do, and I'm going to measure it, and we keep repeat, repeat, repeat. Now you're going to, by the time I finish, you're going to get the view, I'm not one of these people, although I have an MBA, so I know full well how to do this. The interesting bit is in this middle called a heuristic. These are pattern spotters. I see something in the mess of the big data. I see something wrong with the strategies or algorithms that people are using in the marketplace, and I see a new configuration. And it's this middle bit which is highly interesting. And by the way, I think designers are really, really talented spotters of patterns. I see something different. Now, how do you take something different and tell the boss that you should do something differently? Human beings, they don't like change, typically. It's a very difficult thing. And entrepreneurs work in this state. They drive these people crazy. And if you get swamped by big data, you'll never act. So I spend lots of time with students cycling through this. How do you take the mess of information, sift through it, find interesting new points, and find an action? And by the way, if you do this in big organizations, in government, in big companies, the people who manage the routines, the algorithms, are sometimes going to be very critical. They're going to say no. Okay? Yet, when I talk to entrepreneurs and investors, I hear these words. Why did you do what you do? I saw a customer pain. I really felt the time was right. I see opportunity. I believe I have the skills to do this. What's analytical about any of that? That's gut feeling. Do you want to go to the president of my university and say, by the way, yes, Ilka, I have a gut feeling. You don't take a gut feeling to a committee in academia, right? But this is the way investors and entrepreneurs, it comes from here. So if you've got an entrepreneurial itch and there's something that your body's telling you, I can't stop thinking about this, it's almost borderline obsessive, you're onto something very good to resonate. Why? Designers, places like this, use the intuitive side. This is feelings. They look for things that could be valid, and a valid solution is, this could work. Where's the proof? Don't know till we try. So, quick question for you. Who's more creative? Intuitive types. But I work with a lot of designers, and this is meant not as a personal criticism. Designers are very, very comfortable with the creative agenda. They do not like when engineers come in and say, let's get serious, what are we doing? You need to have a blend of both, and design thinking is sitting there in the middle. Oh, sorry. Design thinking is sitting there in the middle. I prefer the word design doing. And so instead of business planning starting from the left, I prefer to start from the right. Let's throw some creativity, have some wild fun, but you always have to keep in mind at some point there's an audience you have to sell the innovation to. And my students get to practice this a lot. And it works. And you need a creative habitat like this. This does not work in a lecture hall. This does not work in a corporate head office. And I can tell you, it's not much of a secret, many companies come to me wanting to get some of these people who have some weird projects to meet our students. My students are very creative. They have very little credibility. They haven't been out in the workplace long enough. The people in the workplace have a high level of credibility, but they've been out of school so long that their creative edge has been dulled. And I'm very interested in bringing these two parties in together. Now, there is a theory behind the way I teach. Now, and I'll be happy to send this link to you because this is a paper I stole off the internet. But the comments are from a guy who is a prominent Silicon Valley venture capitalist. First good paper I've seen. This paper was rejected by Harvard Business Review. Was accepted after 4 years. Saras has been to Aalto. She's a very good friend. Her supervisor, her PhD supervisor, was a Nobel laureate in economics. She's a pretty smart lady. He's a very famous Nobel laureate from the University of Chicago. The design of her research was basically this. She went and wanted to get into the heads of some very successful entrepreneurial people who have done a lot of things. If I showed you an opportunity, a common opportunity, I would like you to talk me through how you would pursue it. It's a very good scientific design. And suddenly, when she actually did the decoding, what she found was totally the opposite of the way we were teaching. So here's some advice from some very successful people who have a lot of experience, both positive and negative. If I gave you a common thing, what would you do with it? You get 27 completely different starting points. This is what she found. First is what's called the bird in hand principle. And the bird in hand principle is, what do I see in opportunity? Everybody in this room has a unique lens. This is one of the challenges of being an entrepreneurship educator. Everybody in this room sees the world with a slightly different tilt. That's the beauty of being an entrepreneurship educator. You see all these different things, but when you're trying to communicate this, what you see is maybe not what I see. And communication is very difficult between these. It starts with what are called means. What you see depends on what you're passionate about. You look for things that leverage your skills, and you look for places where your network could help. That's pretty sensible, isn't it? Now, the older you get, the better you are able to identify, I really am passionate. I have a lot of young students who say, I'm passionate about changing the world. That's so easy to say. I turn around and ask them, so what do you know about the world? And they say what Google tells them. That's not good enough. And I do a lot of work with first-year undergrads. They don't know what they're passionate about at all. They have no idea whether they're even in the right program. If that's the case when they're a graduate student, there's a problem. But these things are very fluid. They're perceptions. But my best advice to you is look for things that you're really into, that leverage what you're good at, and that can be helped by your network. I want you to meet one of my students. He hasn't graduated yet. His name is Kalle Fries. He's the 9th-ranked barista in the world, top-ranked barista in the Nordic region for 2 years running, and he hasn't finished his bachelor's degree. I have him come to class. He talks about coffee. He's into coffee. He had his first cup of coffee at age 14, can't stop talking about it. He also looks like somebody quite famous. He looks like Bill Gates with nice hair, right? And students ask, why do you have him come in here? Because, God, he's into coffee. This is what he's going to do in his life. This is his itch. This is what he wants to do. So my advice to you, you do things that are your coffee bean, whatever that is. That could be in a for-profit business, a non-for-profit business, a family business, government, university. It's all the same thing. It's all the same thing. And by the way, he's busy with a startup in Silicon Valley. It's called Sudden Coffee. His mission in life is to make the world's best instant coffee. Wow. Wow. I'm helping him. I'm trying to help him graduate because he's, if the clock is ticking, if he doesn't get his paperwork done, he's going to be booted out. And I do think university experience is a really good one to put your foot over the brake for a while and just take the time to observe and learn and be curious. That's first principle. Second principle, what are you prepared to lose? Now, this is something you don't want to hear, right? It's usually, how can we measure Big Bang impact, and could you write the future press release and everything goes according to plan? It doesn't. This is about setting up experiments and prototypes. This is what design schools are very good at. Why don't you get something out there and let me put something, if I'm in this business, let me put this early prototype in your head. What do you think about it? I don't like this, I do like this, I wish it had this. You spend small amounts of money to learn what the market really wants, and sometimes the market doesn't want it at all. That's a smart strategy. It's a smart strategy for big companies, but big companies find this very hard because it means spending small amounts of money, and they want to spend big amounts of money. I'll let you in a secret. When governments and big companies spend big amounts of money, they do bugger all. They don't think like an entrepreneur. The creativity gets snuffed out because you have too much resource. You probably know the story of this guy, James Dyson. He's got this cyclonic design vacuum cleaner. There's no vacuum bags. He worked on this for a very long time. By the way, I just checked, he is a self-made individual worth £6 billion. His factory is in Wales, not in London, middle of nowhere. And he's very passionate about the intersection of design and engineering, and he thinks the universities in Britain really suck. He's saying. The government comes to him, why don't you put some money into this? I think what you're doing is completely backwards. That's not a message most universities want to hear. They want to hear how good they're doing. And he said, why? Because it took him 5,127 prototypes and 15 years to find the approach that actually worked. Now, I don't know personally whether I'd spend that length of time. And by the way, he wanted to sell that business to the vacuum cleaner manufacturers. They didn't want to buy it because it didn't sell bags. They were making money off of bags. This is a guy who loves to set up experiments, and you learn from failing. We have something called fail up in Finland. You talk about your screw-ups, you take a bow, and everybody claps. As long as you didn't spend too much money. And you could decode what did you learn so that it doesn't get repeated. That's a really positive exercise. And by the way, I think universities are very good at this. We're very good at experimentation. Really, really good at experimentation. But I really put my students on the, if you want to experience failure, come to my class. Failure is not an F on your transcript. It's a robust critique. You didn't get what you always wanted. World's a tough place. Third principle, you work with other people. Duh. This is called the crazy quilt principle, called co-creation. You hear this word a lot? Which means the universities can't be kind of the domain and say, we're going to do it all ourselves. Or big companies, we're going to do it all ourselves. Or government, we're going to do it all ourselves. Where is the expertise and the network, and how do we bring people in together to solve complex challenges? You have to be in the same room together. Collisions. Let me introduce you to one of my students. Her name is Maya. She's a designer. She had an idea. She had these mobile phones and kept replacing them. So every new mobile came out, she bought all these mobiles and had all of these power cords with nasty stuff in them, and they didn't work. They were not compatible across models. She said, I'm going to try and solve this problem. Then the announcement came out from Nokia and Samsung and others that were developing a common plug. Ups, no opportunity, but she was still interested in mobile charging. So she set up a company called PowerKiss. There's a beautiful story about this, and I love the fact that most of this room is female. Highly entrepreneurial. Pink, female entrepreneur, and proud of it. PowerKiss has something to do with mobile charging. The name was available. And third point, why'd you get the name? When her husband kisses her in the morning, I feel energized. Wow. Okay? Wow. And she's genuinely one of these nice, generous people. And I've been in this game so long that I think that's the defining trait of successful people, is the generosity of behavior. Helping each other out. This is a network, by the way. We do a very bad job at leveraging networks inside this room. If we had more time to sort of pick what you're thinking about, who could help. Because there's probably somebody in this room who could introduce you to somebody who might be critical to get something going that you're thinking in your mind. She said to me, could I meet with you? She was at the design factory. She was, I think, in the next door office to these people from Catchbox. I said, sure, but I'm flying to New York, literally a true story, and when I got off the plane in New York and through the immigration procedure, which was very pleasant, I saw this sign. Take pictures of everything. My students are learning this. One of them took pictures. They're doing retail challenge right now. One of them got thrown out of a store by the store manager. And I said, how long were you there? 4 hours taking pictures. And he was caught on the security camera. But he learned a whole lot. You should see some of these visuals. Unbelievable. Lose the cords, power mat, wireless charging, click, click, went to the hotel, did a Google search, and if I tell you this is a Silicon Valley-backed company, claim of the company is you put a phone on one of their surfaces, it identifies the phone, charges it faster than if you plug the phone in the wall. Are you impressed? Her jaw dropped like this. The ball game is up. I said, no. Take this little bit of information. She's a Finland-based entrepreneur. There's obviously an opportunity here. I want you to check their IP to make sure that your IP is unique, and it was. And she went on an exploration, and she met a couple of furniture manufacturers. Furniture wireless charging. And they liked each other, and there was a government program where the big company and the small entrepreneur could work together, and government would come in with a helping hand. They gave them a €1 million development grant. And the solution was to actually drill a hole in the table, electrify the table, drill a hole in the table, put the dongle into the phone, and lay the phone down, and it lights up with a big lip. Who would have ever thought about that? Do the furniture people say that's our normal business? No. Does the wireless charger entrepreneur think that that's a normal business? No. They got together, liked each other, and there was an incentive from government, and it worked. Well, the story gets better. Phone call. Maya, we'd like to buy your company. And it's public information in Finland. She made a €600,000 capital gain at the age of 36. And a small little word about PowerMat. PowerMat itself was bought out by a small company named Procter & Gamble, who make Duracell batteries. There's a lot in this. I do a lot of training with executives, so why didn't Procter & Gamble have this idea in the first place? And if you ever want to be an entrepreneur, look for the blind spots of big organizations. Set up the experiment, you de-risk it, they'll buy you. And by the way, she's now started a second company. She's sold it on. It was in food. She sold it on to Pfizer. Wow. Not even 40 years old, 2 successful startups, and good money in the bank. Comes in and does a lot of mentoring with our students, especially female entrepreneurs, which is fantastic. So be open to having conversations. I do a lot of work with government. Government's the biggest service provider. Service experience design is the field I do most of my work in. And there's a lot of work to be done in that field. But there's lots of entrepreneurs trying to make a wave in service design. And I think one of the things I tell government is don't just assume that what you need is in the room or in your ministry. Fourth principle, lemonade. When the world hands you a lemon, you make lemonade. Now, you probably know, you're going to learn about lemonade in a minute. This is the surprise element. And I want to have a picture in your mind of what a youth hostel looks like. Now, you probably, it's been for some, probably, I haven't been in one in a long time. But the picture probably is something like this. Bunk beds, no security, you're worried about bed bugs. There's no 5-star restaurant. There's usually Wi-Fi. By the way, this is a good commercial business. This is a youth hostel in Uppsala, north of Stockholm. And in one of my classes at KTH, I invited this guy to class. His name is Oscar. High growth entrepreneurship class, youth hostel operator at Uppsala, and the students are looking at me going, why is this guy here? He had a plan. He wanted to go to Arlanda and set up a youth hostel. Lots of young tourists. And by the way, there's a very expensive hotel called Sky City, which is €250 a night. That's not the market. And the airport authority kept saying, no, we don't want these young people here. They make a mess. We have a very nice airport, and we want to keep it very tidy, so the answer is no. And this went on for a year. He got so upset, one night he went out and had a beer. True story. Person next to him strikes up a conversation, and this guy had been negotiating with the airport to ask to create a bar and was told no. Oscar said, a bar? That's a normal thing, isn't it? Yes, but you know, there's contracts, and the number of people who could serve alcoholic beverages is limited. And by the way, I had a very interesting idea to do this. I wanted to take the bankrupt 747 jet that had been parked out on one of these terminals for 6 years and roll it up to a gate and open it up as a bar. I think that's a fabulous idea. But you need an airport with capacity. Stockholm has capacity. You wouldn't do this at London Heathrow. The gates are too expensive. What plane? Well, the one parked out here, because there's so much space, nobody seemed to mind, 6 years of parking fines. I wonder if I can use the plane. He tore down the fence, negotiated the parking fine, tore down the fence, put the fence back up again, outfitted it as a youth hostel. Everybody in the place is dressed like a steward or a stewardess. That's the honeymoon suite. He has conferences there. And I ask, who would have ever thought about this? And the students are sitting there like this, and I had to ask Oscar, so what did the airport say when you had this idea? He said they laughed. They thought this was the craziest thing in the world. But they said yes. From a conversation in a bar. The story gets better. I see this jumbo hostel on CNN, BBC. He gets a phone call from another businessman who has a problem. They fly people to airports where there are no facilities. And Oscar looked at me and he said, Peter, can you guess who called me? I said, it's either an Irishman who swears every second word, the guy behind Ryanair, or it's the Greek guy behind EasyJet. He said, you're right, I won't tell you which one. But the plan was to go to the Mojave Desert, where they have a fleet of these disused planes, and buy a fleet of jets and put them in these airports where people go. That's the best element of surprise I've ever seen. But it's getting out of your comfort zone. Exploring widely. And this is where, you know, companies grab onto this and say, you're right, we need to get out of our office and start exploring. Who knows what we're going to find? Now, pilot in the plane is the fifth. So here we go. You start with you, obvious. Set up an experiment, obvious. Work with other people, obvious. And as you start working with other people and choose not to work with other people, the business plan starts to form. And this is called pilot in the plane. You act it out. You don't write it. Now, sometimes you have to write it when you're trying to raise money or get a government grant. You have to codify your thoughts. But entrepreneurs are in this kind of dance routine. So let's see if this works. Let's see if this works. And by the way, if you hit a brick wall, don't continue. If there's no obvious way around it, you act these plans out. Now, I want to finish with lemonade. I talked about lemonade. This is a great analogy to opportunities. Every American, I'm a Canadian, not an American, every American kid sets up a lemonade stand. And it's quite the equivalent of a pop-up. You set up a stand, you call mother up or grandmother, give me the recipe, you bribe the parents to give you the raw materials, you set a price, and you start raising money, put on your best smile, and start selling things. Now, a good bit of practical advice about business planning. If I don't understand the stand, you've lost me. Too many people go so deep, so fast, because they've got so much going on in their head. When they start to write it down, and they give me the big vision as opposed to the small thing. Tell me about the small thing. Tell me, I understand. So you're selling beverages. Ooh, what's the raw material cost? Ooh, how much money can you make? Ooh, where are you going to set up? Is it allowed? Oh, I get that. And by the way, she wants to set up a Starbucks, which I know a lot about. Starbucks is a big business, but it all starts with that one stand. Everybody see the point? The simplicity, and there's a lot of detail in that, the simplicity of that is huge. But if you're able to put it down in a simple line, people say, I get it. Now, if you're going to do a for-profit initiative, you better be able to show the money. Show me how it's going to get big. Experiment in government. Show me the small experiment. Now, let's roll this and try it out and tease it out. Now, how can we make this a big program with wider impact? It's the same process. Now, I want you to meet this kid. This is where the inspiration comes in. This is Jake. He's, in this picture, I think 9 years old. And you're going to see him in a video in a minute. And despite what I said about credibility, you do have exceptions to the rule, and this kid is one. He was 8 years old, wanted to buy a Lego set that cost $400. His father said, no. You got to earn the money. You're going to meet this kid in a minute. And he said, God, I'm only 8 years old. Where am I going to get $400 if my father's... He said, well, if you want, I'll help you build a business. And so they did some research and found out that there was a lemonade stand competition. How does the lemonade stand work? And so the kid decided to set up a lemonade stand. First year, set it up at the market, age 8, 2,000 in sales, 900 in profits. 8. Age 9, there's a little sign up here called the Young American Bank. This is a bank for little kids. You have to be a little kid to get a loan, and the parents do not need to sign. I think it's a very interesting idea. This bank gave this kid $5,000 at age 9. And the plan of the kid was, I want to hire 3 more kids to set up 3 more stands, and I will pay the kids a wage and give them a cut of the profits. Age 9. Age 10, he went on Shark's Tank, this big publicity stunt in the US, and raised $50,000 at age 10. So please don't tell me, young people you can't get a lot of inspiration for being young. And I hope, if this will work, this embedded video clip.
Next into the tank is a kid entrepreneur who wants to help other kids fulfill their entrepreneurial aspirations.
Hi Sharks, my name is Jack Bonneau. I'm the founder and CEO of Jack's Stands and Marketplaces, and I'm from Denver, Colorado.
Hi Sharks, I'm Steve Bonneau. I'm Jack's dad. I work for Jack.
Sharks, I'm seeking $50,000 in exchange for 10% of my company. I'm 10 years old, but when I was 8 years old, I really wanted a Lego set, but it cost $400. The good news was my dad said I could have it.
But he'd have to pay for it with his own money.
So, I did what most of you probably would do. I started my own lemonade stand. After 12 weeks, I made $900 after expenses.
Wow.
Learned some valuable lessons, and yes, I got my Lego Death Star. That experience is exactly why I created Jack's Stands and Marketplaces. Jack's Stands and Marketplaces provides kids and their families opportunities to learn about entrepreneurship, business, financial literacy, while having fun and making some money. We provide everything except their mood and their enthusiasm. Jack's Stands offers kids the opportunity to sell lemonade and other drinks. We offer kids the opportunity to sell more than just lemonade. Jack's Marketplaces provides young entrepreneurs the opportunity to sell their products in authentic and great marketplaces and have kids sell those great products and tell the inspirational stories of these young entrepreneurs.
So Sharks, our challenge and question to you is, who wants to make money?
While inspiring our nation's youth in entrepreneurship.
He's not going to have any trouble getting into school of his choice at all. Okay. Good. There we go. Any questions for me?
Guys, you have opportunity for, let's say, 3 questions in case you are brave enough. Ivars?
Way at the back.
Vieslekcija. Nu nedzird vēl. No? 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 Yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Hello, I'm Elena, and my question is, what should be the future strategy for design education in Latvia to create more innovations and to be competitive internationally? Thank you.
You're a student at the design school?
I'm graduate.
Graduate at the design school.
Latvia and Ālto University.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Is this going to be recorded and you're going to tell my boss in Finland? We have 6 schools in our university, and I think the crown jewel in Ālto is the design school. And this is the natural creative hub for entrepreneurship. However, the design school is often, and I don't know what it's like here in Latvia, they're very protective of their space and their studios, and they have small, very small, highly personal education, very expensive education. And they don't like this business thing at all. And I'm trying to help to get the design school to start colliding with other schools. You have an element a business school needs, creative space. And the process that you're inculcated with, this design process, is the integral bit, the creative spark that makes good innovations. And this is in our university, so my advice to you is you're going to have to be open to collisions with other schools. I love mixtures of nationalities, disciplines in a classroom, and I mix up the teams deliberately. It's very uncomfortable because the designers think they don't have a voice, but I put them on a stage at the beginning and say, by the way, this kind of group exercise, the design voice is probably going to get very loud at the very beginning, and at some point when you start having to drive towards an innovation, then the engineers and business students tend to take the lead. But you do work together. It is uncomfortable, but I think these collisions, you have to really push them. Ask around in the schools who gets this kind of multidisciplinary approach. I like working with people who are allies. If you're a real skeptic and you're not going to change the word no to yes, you're probably not the right person to work with. But the upside is huge, absolutely huge. Most of the exciting creative innovations in education are happening around design schools. And you've got one here, so Riga's well positioned.
Thank you. Yeah.
Excellent. My name is Yanis. Question is about how do we promote entrepreneurial approaches and innovation in areas where affordable loss, where the bar is set incredibly high, say healthcare, education, where prototyping and experimenting is, it's a hard sell to the parents that we're going to do a small experiment on your children and then see whether something sticks.
I would take a slightly different tack to your question. I'll let you in a little dirty secret on the entrepreneurial scene. My bosses think this entrepreneurship thing is that the students automatically go through school, become high-growth entrepreneurs upon graduation. I think that's complete baloney. It doesn't happen. I think the people that have the cash and the problem are companies, big corporates. And now governments are somewhat cash-strapped. Governments as well have a big creative problem. And I'm like a laser focused on identifying the people in these large organizations who have a creative problem and say, by the way, you have a problem of creativity in a marketplace, and you have to do something very radical and small and very entrepreneurial. Why don't you meet my creative students? You give me a challenge, I'll throw it into the class. And I do that deliberately because some of the young students actually get hired by the company, putting the challenge together. And I'm even wanting more engagement from the company side to get the company people into the class experience to participate for the full Monty. And they want to pay me to do this. They want to pay the school to do this. And I'm getting a little bit of pushback from the school because the Ministry of Education has not got a clear direction as to whether I could charge a client who wants to give me money to be in a classroom with students who are not paying, which I think is a really dumb regulation. So I'm interested, if I call this the 90-10 rule, 90% of what big organizations and governments do is routine, which is a good thing. You've got to have programs that are run and managed, and if you're comfortable with a role and managing, bravo. The entrepreneurs are in that kind of 10% zone. They do weird stuff. Their boss doesn't quite understand. Oh, God, you're really difficult to manage. You're always got these new ideas, and I don't know what to do with them. That's the groundswell for innovation, is in that little 10% zone. I'm clearly in that 10% zone in the school. My boss loves what I do. She has my back. I don't break the law. I bend rules all the time. And she basically tells me, if ever you have a problem, you call me. Because she knows I've got the best interest of the school at heart. And by the way, the companies love me. So if I were you to build a business model out of this, I'm reaching out to the tribe of what I call the misfits. There's lots of them out there. And this is damn difficult to do. Big companies are really awful at creativity. They know this because they just have big numbers, big opportunities. They're not used to experimenting, not used to having their people go a little wild. They need to start thinking about this. And this is where you're seeing a lot of this grasping around design thinking and design doing among governments and big companies particularly. Because it's not going to happen in a corporate head office. And it can't be all your activity either. So it depends how you frame it. And by the way, I did have a venture capitalist in Finland, a very big one from the US. He thinks Finland would be a very good place to do experiments in healthcare. His advice to entrepreneurs, don't come to the United States. It's a killing ground. very prominent blogger. And we're actually quite good at it because we're quite small and well organized. We could do things much faster than a very complicated, highly politicized environment like a market like the US or China. Okay?
Thank you. Aya has another one.
Hey, thank you so much. I'm Aya from Art Academy of Latvia. You said about intuition and feeling as well.
Yes.
And my question is, can we actually be ready for the generation that is coming to us? 3 years, 5 years, 6, 10, 12 years old, that actually demand the future, completely different one, and education already now?
I face this all the time. The pitch I make to companies, who's disrupting business worlds right now? Who's disrupting governments right now? It's not people in this room. It's the 10, 11, 12-year-olds who have more technical proficiency than I ever had at that age, who have little patience, who have information at their fingertips and are living in a world of big data. And I get very worried about this because they're not thinking deeply about stuff. But we're not even listening to them because we think the kids don't know anything. At our university, the kids are disrupting. They've moved far faster than the adult faculty at creating an entrepreneurship curriculum. Whether it actually works is a question I'd love to explore with them. But I'm more interested in this transgenerational design. And the sales pitch I've been making to companies is very simple. The disruptor is sitting in this room. They have no idea how disruptive they are being. You need to find a solution to this, and you need to have a conversation across generations. It's going to be very uncomfortable because adults, older adults, trying to figure out how the young and empathize with the way the young are viewing the world and their means, unless you're in the same room, working a lot with one another, you're going to miss that empathy. And we're terrible at this cross-generational design in school. It's all driven for the young. You come to school, you graduate young, you leave, and these skills are supposed to last you for 40 years. That's complete rubbish in the world we live in now. Ask the 50-year-olds who haven't been in class for 30 years how to retool, and you're basically told your skills are out of date, and here you're in a classroom with some people with highly creative, a completely fresh perspective that is very radical to your worldview, and you never have a chance to meet and work together. I think that's a great fertile opportunity to start beginning these conversations. There's going to be great opportunities out there, but we have to fundamentally rethink the design. So a lot of these ideas that I'm putting out, the companies like, the university bureaucracy is telling me, sorry, Ministry of Education, And our school wants money. Can you believe this? Our school wants money. And I have a company who's ready to throw money at this, and the bureaucrat is throwing up a regulation. Now, I'm sure we'll get to a better place. But this is the kind of tension zone. You need to have people pushing the boundaries in organizations and letting them flourish. You can't have a university full of people like me. It'd be total chaos. But if you have nobody like me in a university, that's not good either. And most of the people who are actually doing innovation, creative innovation in education, have actually quit the university, raised the money outside, and started to do things like Coursera. Online education was not a university-driven thing. It was an entrepreneurially funded-driven thing. One of the key players was it used to be a professor at Stanford. He just walked up one day and quit. And then Stanford, the senior people said, why didn't we have lots of money? Why didn't we think of this idea? Your academic committee probably killed it. Oh. And this is the debate we're having inside our university now. It's a difficult thing. We've been at it 7 years. And the industry people would like us to do more experimentation. It's a good approach to kind of manage to create it. I'm in the business of trying to create new routines. But you've got to have a lot of failed prototypes and a very agile attitude about getting things done quickly and moving on, which universities and large companies find very difficult. I used to take them on directly about this and say, you're backwards and slow and conservative and dinosaurs. That doesn't get me anywhere. I used to have brown hair, I now have gray. I respect the routine masters, but the creative agenda is something that should be embraced. And it's a highly interesting, provocative issue. I got a lot of experience I can share with you about that.
Thank you, Peter. But I have to be the bad one because we have creative agenda, but we are a little bit already late. I am sure that we can talk for an hour, right? It's such a great discussion, not just a presentation. And before I hand you over these things from us, it's a red handbook, as I mentioned, and some of other Latvian books. So let's give a warm applause to Peter, and thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And it's just like a 7 minutes break, and afterwards Peter will stay, and please be patient because he's going to have his own interpreter whispering in the air, yeah? Well, but now tiešraides dalībniekiem, ja viņi vēl man dzird, 10 līdz 15 minūšu pauze, jums lūdzu teju, kafija, viss pārējais sarunas, un uzreiz atgriežamies, lai mēs turpinātu diskusiju tālāk, kur tad mēs esam un uz kurien mēs ejam. Paldies jums! Thank you so much.